You open your phone to order dinner, scrolling for 20 minutes. You end up getting the same thing you always get. You stand in front of your closet, full of clothes, and feel you have nothing to wear. You sit down to plan a weekend for yourself, and a blankness settles in. A quiet question floats up, and you push it back down. What do I actually want? Not what should you want, or what you used to want, or what someone else expects, but the genuine, specific, personal desire. And there's a stillness, an emptiness where the answer should be. It's not about big life choices, not always. It's in these small, daily moments. The movie you pick, the way you spend a free hour, the decoration you choose for a bare wall. A faint anxiety whispers that you should know this, that everyone else seems to. So you outsource the answer. You check the reviews. You see what's trending. You remember what you liked last time or what someone else liked for you. You construct a preference from the pieces available and you call it your own. But in the quiet, you wonder. It feels like a subtle form of emptiness. You watch others debate passions with fervor, their eyes alight with certainty. And you adapt. You chameleon, fitting your colors to the room. You become an expert at choosing the acceptable, the reasonable, the universally approved option. Because the alternative is to reach into that stillness and pull out something unknown, something that might be wrong. So your life becomes a collection of fine choices. The perfectly adequate job, the agreeable free time, the inoffensive decor. It's not unhappiness, not exactly. It's a life lived in a neutral tone. Your decisions are often made by eliminating the bad options, not by reaching for the good ones. Your self-talk becomes a committee meeting, weighing pros and cons, societal opinions, past failures, future judgments. The one voice that's absent is the one asking the simplest question: what would feel good to me? This isn't laziness, it's not a lack of personality. It feels deeper, like a disconnection from some internal compass. And the fear is that if you ever did find that compass, its needle would just spin wildly, pointing nowhere. What if this isn't a flaw in you, but a feature of how you were built? A learned adaptation for a very specific environment. Consider this. For many of us, our earliest landscapes of desire were not safe places. To have a preference was to risk disapproval. To want something strongly was to be labeled difficult or selfish or wrong. Maybe your wants were routinely overridden by a stronger will, or maybe they were met with such anxiety that you learned your desires were burdensome. Perhaps expressing a liking for something led to teasing, or to having that thing used as a lever for control. In those environments, the brain does something ingenious and heartbreaking for survival. It begins to disassociate the feeling of desire from the conscious mind. It wallpapers over the internal spark with a practical, acceptable finish. The brain's primary job is to keep you safe, not to keep you authentic. So if authenticity caused friction, pain, or rejection, your brain went to work. It didn't kill your desires, it just hid them from you, to protect you. You are not empty. You are not broken. You are someone who learned, brilliantly, to hide the treasures of your own heart so well that even you lost the map. The psychological mechanism at play is a disruption in what's called interoception. Interoception is your brain's process of sensing and interpreting your internal signals. Your hunger, thirst, your heartbeat, the tightness of anxiety, the warmth of contentment. And yes, the subtle somatic sensation of liking or wanting something. It's that gut feeling, that leaning in, that felt sense of yes. When this channel gets noisy or disrupted, you stop trusting those signals. You look outward for data instead of inward. Think of your mind as a radio. The station playing is your genuine desire, the music of your own liking. But growing up, every time you turned up the volume on that station, static blasted through the speakers, or someone changed the channel. Over time, you just stopped turning the dial to that station. You leave the radio tuned to the clear, strong signal of external noise, what you should like, what's popular, what's safe. The internal station hasn't gone off the air, but the knob is stiff from disuse, and you've forgotten the frequency. The mental model here is simple. Preference is not a thought. It is a sensation. It happens in the body first, a flicker of neural activity, a shift in your internal state, and then gets translated into a thought. You have been trained to ignore the sensation and jump straight to the calculus of thought. You've been trying to solve for x with an equation that deliberately excludes the most important variable, the quiet, physical feeling of inclination. To retune the radio, you don't need grand gestures or life-altering decisions. You need to practice a new form of microscopic attention. This is not about finding your passion, it's about finding your preference for the color of a mug. It's a rehabilitation of your interoceptive sense. Start with the smallest, lowest-stakes choices you make every day. The temperature of your shower, the route you walk, the order in which you do your chores. Before you act, insert a deliberate pause, just 2 seconds. In that pause, ask your body, not your mind, which one? Not which is better, not which is right, which one draws you in, even faintly. You might feel nothing. That's okay. The act of asking is the exercise. You are bending the stiff dial millimeter by millimeter. Why does this work? You are performing deliberate neuroception. You are teaching your brain that it is now safe to scan for internal states. You are building a new neutral pathway between the sensation in your body and your conscious awareness. You are proving through tiny repetitions that no disaster will strike if you listen. For example, you're making tea. You have 2 kinds. Instead of grabbing the usual, you hold a box in each hand. You pause. You close your eyes. You ask, which one? Listen for the faintest pull. Maybe it's a memory of scent or a slight leaning towards the green box. You choose that one. The world does not end. The tea is fine. The victory is not in the taste, but in the fact that you asked the question and honored the ghost of an answer. The second step is to introduce deliberate randomness, but with a twist. We often think of experimenting with new things as a project of the will. You try new music, new food, new hobbies. But you do it with the same analytical, judgmental mind, the mind that compares it to what it knows, that checks for good or bad. Instead, you must adopt the role of a gentle scientist collecting data, not a judge issuing a verdict. Once a week, in a controlled, private setting, expose yourself to something new with one instruction. Scan for somatic resonance. Pick a short piece of unfamiliar music. Listen not to whether you like it. Listen for what it does in your body. Does it make your shoulders feel tight or loose? Does it bring an image to mind, a color, a texture? Try a small bite of a new food. Before the thought, "this is spicy," forms, notice where do you feel the sensation. Is it a bright feeling or a dull one? Does your body want to lean towards it or away? You are not looking for a thumbs up or thumbs down. You are collecting data on your nervous system's raw, pre-verbal response. Why this works neurologically is that it bypasses the prefrontal cortex, the overthinking, judging, comparing part of your brain, and routes the experience directly through the sensory and insular cortices, the areas that process interoception. You are building a library of felt experiences, not a list of opinions. For example, you listen to a genre of music you've always assumed you'd hate. You sit with it. You notice it makes your chest feel expansive, but your fingers feel restless. The verdict, "I don't like this," never comes. Instead, you have a piece of data. This sound creates a feeling of expansiveness and restlessness in me. That data point is pure. It belongs only to you. The third step is the most difficult because it involves social silence. For 1 week in low-stakes conversations, prohibit yourself from the two most common preference-masking phrases. The first is, "I don't care, you choose." The second is, "Oh, I love that too," when you feel no particular pull. This is not about forging strong opinions. It's about practicing the muscle of differentiation in the social sphere where it atrophied in the first place. When asked where to go for coffee, instead of "I don't care," you might say, "I'm leaning towards somewhere quiet today." Or, "I had a latte last time, so maybe something different." You are not stating a grand desire. You are simply stating a slight internal weather report. When someone enthuses about a show you haven't seen, instead of automatically agreeing, you might say, "I know nothing about it. What's the feeling of it?" You are redirecting from a fake agreement to a genuine curiosity, which is a form of honesty. The psychology here is behavioral activation mixed with exposure therapy. You are acting as if you have access to your preferences, and the action itself begins to rewire the social anxiety loop. You are teaching your brain that the social bond does not break when you express a sliver of individual nuance. For example, a friend asks if you want to see an action movie. Your old script says, "Sure, sounds fun, regardless." Your new practice invites you to check in. "You know, I'm feeling a bit overloaded today. A slower movie might fit my mood better, but I'm happy to go with the group." You offer a piece of your internal state. The sky does not fall, and in that moment, you have made a choice that honors a true, if subtle, sensation within you. The fourth principle is to reframe regret as data. When a choice feels wrong, you ordered the disappointing meal, you bought the shirt that now hangs lifeless. Your old pattern would be to criticize your judgment and retreat further into safe external rules. Instead, you must conduct a post-mortem of sensation. Ask, gently, "What was I hoping to feel when I made that choice? Was I hoping the vibrant shirt would make me feel bold? Did I choose the trendy dish hoping to feel sophisticated?" Then ask, "What does it actually make me feel?" The shirt makes me feel like I'm in a costume. The dish made me feel overly full and unpleasantly surprised. The gap between the hoped-for feeling and the actual feeling is your gold mine. It tells you that you were, in fact, reaching for a specific internal experience. You wanted to feel bold. You wanted to feel sophisticated. The error was not in the desire, but in the object you thought would deliver it. This works because it moves you from global self-critique, like "I have bad taste," to specific, useful feedback. Nouvelle cuisine does not make me feel sophisticated, it makes me feel anxious and still hungry. You are reverse engineering your desires through their failed manifestations. For example, you go to a busy, loud party thinking it will be fun, and you leave feeling drained. Instead of "I'm no fun," you investigate. "I was hoping to feel connected and energized." This environment created overstimulation and isolation. So, for connection, I might need a smaller setting. For energy, I might need movement or a shared activity, not just noise. You are learning the language of your own internal responses. Over time, these small acts begin to form a new mental model. You are no longer a blank slate waiting for the world to write on you. You are a vessel with a specific, unique shape. Some things will fit that shape, some will not. The goal is not to fill the vessel with the best things, but to learn the contours of the vessel itself, to know your shape. The radio dial begins to turn more freely. The static of should starts to fade, and beneath it you catch strains of a melody you forgot you knew. It's not always a loud, clear song. Sometimes it's just a three-note pattern. A preference for quiet mornings over ambitious ones. A pull toward melancholy music, not just happy tunes. A genuine enjoyment of mundane tasks and a boredom with things others find exciting. This is the quiet reclamation of yourself, not as a list of branded passions, but as a living pattern of subtle attractions and repulsions, a fingerprint of experience. It was never your fault, this not knowing. It was a shield you needed when you needed it, but you are in a different room now. The walls are of your own making. You can begin, slowly, to lower the shield. to listen for the faint hum of your own frequency. It's there, in the way you take your coffee, in the path you walk without thinking, in the book you keep returning to. It is not loud because it does not need to be. It is yours. And the journey is not toward a dramatic revelation of who you are, but a gentle, continuous acquaintance with the fact that you are and have always been here, tuning in.